Hello, I'm Robert. Today I'm going to talk about the actual injecting of the vaccine, just the mechanics of it and all about it. So I'll just start. With all the vaccinations happening continually on TV, either advertising to get the jab or just news or current affairs shows, you'd see people with their sleeves up and the nurses, doctors, chemists, whoever the trained person is, put the syringe into the person's arm, then inject it. Somehow this didn't sit well with me. It just seemed to be happening all too fast. How do they know they won't hit a nerve, bone, artery or vein or whatever else could be there? Maybe there is nothing there, so dangerous stuff, nothing dangerous to hit with that needle. That is why they seem to be doing it quite fast and carefree. I'm not saying they are careless or unskilled. I actually assume all are skilled, trained and know exactly what they are doing with that syringe. But all the same, my curiosity or subtle instincts wouldn't let up, so I'm going to check it out. I get my big huge book out. It's all about the human body. It's got big pictures of the skeleton, the organs, the muscles and so on. I go to the muscles, to the deltoid muscle. Okay, yeah, that's where it is. So I then go to the page of circulation to see if any veins or arteries are there or whatever. And yes, I can see them. There they are, veins and arteries lying what looks like very close to the bone with the deltoid muscle on top. So I feel my muscle like this. This is where your deltoid muscle is. And I say to myself, oh, the bone doesn't feel that far under my muscle. What about a child's arm? They're so skinny. How do they give this injection and definitely not hit a vein or an artery or the bone? Or maybe even if they do hit these parts, it doesn't really matter. Is that why they seem to be fairly casual about giving the injection? So into another book. Doesn't take long, and well, no, they definitely should not want to hit a vein or an artery while injecting a vaccine. In looking at this, it's an oldish book, the word aspiration comes up. You should do this thing when giving certain injections, but it did not explain what that actually meant. I thought this may mean when they hold the needle straight up and tap it so the air bubbles go to the top and they push the plunger a little bit, making sure that all the air is out. Some of the fluid comes out of the top so that they push the plunger and the fluid comes out the top of the needle and making sure the air is all out. So the doctor or nurse, no, there is no air in the chamber, for you don't want to inject air into a person. That I think is fairly well known. But no, aspiration did not mean that. What it meant was when you insert the needle in to make sure you have not hit a vein or an artery, before you push the plunger, injecting the fluid, you should just pull back on the plunger a little. If you see some blood enter the syringe, it means you hit a blood vessel, an artery. For if it was only in the muscle, the blood would not be forced into the chamber of the needle. So you push it, so you push the needle in to the deltoid muscle and you pull back on the plunger a little bit to see if any blood comes in. If it does, that means you hit a blood vessel, an artery for example. If it was only in the muscle, the blood would not be forced into the chamber of the needle, so the person should do this, observing the colour. If no streak or flash of blood enters the chamber, well, all good. You can slowly push the plunger, injecting the fluid, be it the vaccine, for example. I'm just going to show you the drawing. Now, I want to say at the start or now that I have absolutely no medical qualifications whatsoever. It's just me, a layman, that I wasn't sure about something and I wanted to check it out. So this is all I do. So it's just from one layman to whoever, if anybody's actually watching this, you just make of it what you will and do your own homework. But this is, like I say, no qualifications medically whatsoever, just my common sense. So, but I want to show you to explain it, what actually it is. So here is that's your elbow, that's your bone, they call it the humerus. I've got to come around, I think. Okay, you can see that. So, yes, so that's your humerus, the bone. That's your skin, and these are arteries in red. There are actually veins here too that run beside that, but I didn't draw them. It's just going to complicate it too much. It's just my simple drawing. I couldn't find a book on this, so I've just drawn it myself to help explain what this all means. So that's your shoulder. So you've got your bone, your deltoid muscle sort of around here, then there'll be a layer of fat, and then of course your skin. So what they're saying, to aspirate the needle, you put the needle in. Say if your needle happened to hit the vein, like I drew here, not the vein, the artery, sorry. You don't know if you hit it, but to check if you have hit one, you pull back on the plunger a little bit. If you hit it, well then the blood will rush into the chamber of the syringe, and you see it and you know not to push it because you'll be injecting the vaccine into the artery, which they don't want to do. So what you do, you pull it out and put it into another place like here, and then you can inject it. So that's just my drawing. I know it's a bit rough, but that's all. I hope that explains it to a degree. That's just the name of that particular artery that happens to be there. Like I say, there's veins as well, but that's just showing the artery. So I hope that explains it. So that's aspiration. When you pull it back on the needle, you're aspirating the needle to see if you've hit a artery. Okay. So, okay, that's what aspiration means. Aspirate in a dictionary says to draw fluid by suction from a vessel or a cavity. That's out of the Australian Oxford Dictionary. So now I'm getting to understand more about giving a simple injection, and it looks like to me anyway that yes, more care should be given. But now I'm concentrating more, really trying to remember those images. A couple I replay back in my mind, and no, they don't. In those ones that I've seen, they definitely did not hold the plunger and pull back on it a little bit, observing the redness, if it would come in, entering the chamber. They simply inserted the needle and then pushed the plunger. That's what I seen on television, what I remembered. So now I'm getting confused. Either all my books are wrong or out of date or something. I think, where will I, so it says that, but in the books about that you should aspirate when you're giving a vaccine into your deltoid muscle, like I showed you the picture. So I thought, well, okay, where will I look? To clarify this dilemma, should you do it? Really, it may be old-fashioned, this book, because I've got a lot of old books. Oh, I know where I'll go to. I'll go to the government health website, my favourite place, my favourite place to find out the facts. I'm being sarcastic, of course. If you watch my number 2 video, you will see what I think of a government website that gives me all the so-called facts and advice on their health things. Then hidden down below has a disclaimer, basically disclaiming everything they just said. But in any case, I will have a look if they have anything to say on this particular matter. And yes, I find exactly what I'm looking for: administering of vaccines. Item number 5, here it is written. This is what it says. This is what is written. I'm pretty sure I wrote it word for word, but if you want, you can look it up yourself. So this is item number 5 in the government health website. I'm in Australia, here it is. This is explaining. They do a whole lot of other things in the handbook of how to give a vaccination, but this is just one part. It is not necessary to draw back on the syringe plunger before injecting a vaccine. So they're saying it's not necessary to draw back on the plunger before injecting the vaccine. So you put it in and then you just push it. That's what they say. However, if you have done this and a flash of blood appears in the needle hub, withdraw the needle and select a new site for injection. I have to read that again because it's so ridiculous. To me it is, because I'll just read it out without stopping. It is not necessary to draw back on the syringe plunger before injecting a vaccine. However, if you have done this and a flash of blood appears in the needle hub, withdraw the needle and select the new site for injection. Well, they do admit you could hit a blood vessel, because they're saying if you have done it and you do pull back on the needle and you see blood, well, pull it out and try another place. But in the first part of the paragraph, the sentence says that it's not necessary to draw back on the syringe plunger before injecting a vaccine. Well, if it's not necessary to do it, you wouldn't do it. But then it's got, however, if you have, but well, you wouldn't, because it says you don't have to. But however, if you have done this and a flash of blood appears in the needle hub, withdraw the needle and select a new site for injection. That's sort of quite ridiculous as far as I'm concerned. I think you should just... anyway. It doesn't actually state the word aspiration, aspirate the needle or aspiration. It says it by pulling back on the plunger, but that's all right. In any case, I now went to the web to look up aspirate a needle to see what, my book said so much. This said it on item number 5, which was quite silly, I thought. So I thought I'd go and see what they say on the internet. In any case, I now went to the web, look up to aspirate a needle. Well, here it was. Strong views, either way, to aspirate or not to. Some professionals say yes, some say no. Some countries, their official health department says yes, others say no. Some say do aspirate. If you see blood, pull out the syringe and throw it away. You have polluted the vaccine. So they're saying if you did aspirate and you pulled it back and blood went into the chamber of the syringe, well, you've polluted the vaccine with too much blood. So just pull that, take it right away, chuck it away and start again with a new needle. So that's another variation. So throw it away, you've polluted the vaccine, put in a new syringe into a different spot. Others say if you aspirate and see blood, simply pull the needle out, select a different place and try again. So they're saying the blood in the vaccine does not pollute, the blood in the vaccine does not pollute the vaccine. But another expert says it does. To me, this is all very odd. We've been giving injections to billions of people for decades now, and there is still not a clear agreement on some basic fundamentals of administering a vaccine with a syringe. One thing I read that was posted by a trained nurse, I got actually told by a person I know, a nurse, straight from the horse's mouth later on, but this was, I actually seen this was a nurse on the internet, read that I read that was posted by a trained nurse who obviously agreed with aspirating the syringe, said to the person who was going to give her the vaccine, asked, "Are you going to aspirate the syringe?" The person screwed their face up who was holding the syringe, not knowing what it meant or not agreeing that it needs to be done. When a nurse has to debate with a trained person that is about to give her the injection, that is not good. It leaves me in a jumble of confusion. I know if I had a daughter of 10 years old or 30 years old, I would be worried. Can this needle hit her artery? If it does, will the vaccinator aspirate the needle? Should they aspirate it anyway? Okay, next question. Has anyone been affected by a vaccine going into a blood vessel? I'm not sure. Like I said, I'm not from a medical thing. This is just me saying what I sort of found out and interpreting it my way. So, I'm not sure. But what has happened, apparently, some people after getting vaccinated, only seconds after they got the vaccination, they got a chemical or metallic taste in their mouth, or a shooting pain down their leg, a headache, chest pain, or fluttering of heartbeats. To get such reactions so fast, it must mean, I assume, from what some health experts have said, is that the vaccine must have been injected into a blood vessel, as for instance an artery, for if it went into just your deltoid muscle, there is no way it could make you get that reaction so immediately. It simply could not be transported around your body that fast. Also, what if you hit just the edge of an artery, meaning only a small amount of vaccine got into the artery, then the rest going into your deltoid muscle? This could explain why some people get a more mild reaction without severe complications. And with getting severe complications later on, maybe weeks or months later, even dying from heart issues, etc. I don't know. There is a table on the government health website, the immunisation handbook, a table with recommended needle size, length and angle for administering vaccines. Example, an infant, child or adult, a needle of 25mm long is recommended. Up to 2 months of age or very small infant, a 16mm long needle is recommended. A very large or obese person, a 38mm long needle is recommended. But who is trained and qualified enough to decide at what level do you say this person is large enough or obese enough to get the 38mm needle? You could be large or tall or fat or whatever, but we are all different. Our arms, the layer of fat, then muscle, until where your arteries and veins are, could be all very different. In several so-called large people or obese people, some people may be big and that, but their arms may be big and fatty, and others may be big and large people, or they may be short, but some may have sort of not so much muscle, not so much fat on this section of their arm, but their body may be big and fat, and it's all varied. We're not the same. So that's what I'm saying. How does just the person say, oh yeah, well, you're big obese, you get the 38mm needle? I don't know. Or so it's a bit of hit and miss as far as I'm concerned. could be very different in several so-called large or obese people. To me, this is a way to easily make a mistake. If this so-called trained person can just look at you and in their opinion say, okay, yep, you look pretty obese to me, so I'll use a 38mm needle. But maybe in fact their arm doesn't actually have that much fat or muscle compared to how big that person actually looks. And the 38mm needle can in fact go through the skin, the fat, the deltoid muscle and reach the artery or vein. And only a 25mm needle would have been the right choice. Instead of the 38, the 25mm may have been. I spoke to 3 people directly about this. All actually knew about aspirating a syringe. One was a trained nurse. Like I said, seen on the internet a trained nurse say something. This one I spoke to directly, a person I knew. This nurse who had to question the person, who had questioned the person who was about to give her the jab, one was a trained nurse who had to question the person who was about to give her the jab. Asked her about, are you going to aspirate the needle? That person's reaction to that question was quite curt and dismissive to the nurse. She asked her, are you going to aspirate the needle? And she sort of brushed it aside and was dismissive. That was to the nurse I knew. Another was a young man who was simply informed on this. He just was pretty well read. He knew a little bit about medical issues for some reason. His dad or something was a doctor, but he knew about aspirating. He was informed. When he asked about aspirating the syringe, he was sitting down to get the needle. The person accused him of being an anti-vaxxer and was dismissive and a bit argumentative as well, the person that was going to give it to him. Another person, a lady in her 60s, felt several different uncomfortable sensations only seconds after she got the jab. She said straight away, immediately more or less, did you aspirate the syringe? No answer was given. She had a severe headache. Her foot swelled up twice its size. She was fatigued and serious kidney problems were detected when she ended up in hospital for several days, barely able to walk. On release, they told her they don't know the cause of her ailments. Aspirating a syringe, choosing the right length needle, having people who aren't trained properly to understand it all, that are actually administrating the vaccine, government health departments around the world can't even agree on the same technique, what is right, what is wrong. Instead of a very strict protocol and a crystal clear manner of how to inject the person that nobody could argue with, to me it seems more like a dog's breakfast. I am a layman, a tradesman with an engineering background. I understand measurements, fine tolerances, metallurgy, the strength of a nut and a bolt, the brakes on your car, the amount that steel beam can hold. If a steel beam is X amount of metres long, spread out, and it's the gauge of the beam is this, it'll take this much weight, then it'll buckle. Any more, it buckles. They're clear-cut facts. Everyone understands these. They've been tested and tried. The copper tank will take X amount of pressure, no debate about it, and so on. When I read about giving the injection, then comparing it to engineering, it's quite frightening. I think any respectable engineer would feel the same. Although a medical procedure, it has largely a mechanical aspect to it. Makes me wonder if the medical authorities can't get the basic instructions on how to inject you right, how on earth could they know all about the fluid, the actual so-called vaccine itself, that they want to put into your body. For our immune systems are so extremely, so unbelievably complex. But they say they are safe, just like they say administering of the vaccine is safe. Last word. In the ocean, they have depth sounders to find shipwrecks or schools of fish. The mining industry have similar apparatuses to find out what lies beneath the earth. Surely, there should already be a small tool to measure the depth of how far your bone is from your skin. For instance, a thing, they put it on your deltoid muscle, push a button, and it measures. It should be so. It would be easily manufactured, and I think it should be already made. So they put it on your deltoid muscle, and say, for instance, it measures 45 mil in. So you got your skin, then some fat, then your muscle, then there is the artery and veins on top of your bone. So the person says, okay, I've got 45 mil to the bone, allow another 5 mil on top of that for where the veins and arteries lie. So I got 40 mil till I hit those veins and arteries, a blood vessel. So I have 40 mil till I hit blood vessel. So safely I can choose, I'm just making this up, say for example a 28 mil needle. This will give me, through the skin, the fat I have, it'll give me a 12 mil safe distance from the blood vessel. So 40 mil from the skin to the veins and arteries. I used a 28 mil needle, so I've got 12 mil safe distance from the blood vessels. With this apparatus and actually properly trained people would almost eliminate the danger of hitting a blood vessel in the first place. That's the end of my talk. All have I said in this video is just my layman's opinion. I hope it has informed you some way. You can talk to other people or your doctor about it, or you can chuck it all in the bin. It's just me saying what I found out. I hope it's informed you in some way. And thanks for listening, and I hope to see you soon. Bye for now.